Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up.
It's on letterhead from Al. It says, "Dear Leanne, I want to apologize to you personally. I don't know what was in my head when I took that picture, but that doesn't matter. There's no excuse, and I understand why you could feel violated by that photo. I remember that rehearsal differently, but what's important is that the impact it had on you, and you felt violated by my actions, and for that I apologize. I have tremendous respect for your work for the USO, and I am ashamed that my actions ruined that experience for you. I am so sorry. Sincerely, Al Franken."
It's a good letter.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
And there you have it, the Al Franken scandal, everybody. We have lived through it. Sorry about this delay in the beginning of the broadcast. I'm blaming Brett. No. No, we had an issue with Comcast at first. We didn't have the correct upload speeds. It got corrected, and then we had to reset everything in order to make sure that everything was talking to each other, that the sound card was going through, but whatever. And then Brett screwed up. So at the end, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I am. I'm really, really, really sorry. We'll fire you is what we'll do.
You're a genius.
Brett. No, it wasn't his fault. He's been saying it's my fault. It's my fault. It's not his fault. Everything on the board reset to a default setting, and it wasn't the settings that he's used to, so we had to go manually reset everything. Anyway, we're sorry. It's 45 after. This would be a great day to purchase a podcast so that if this ever happens again, okay, you will have something to listen to. That's number one. So, please do go to RandiRhodes.com/shop and buy a stinking podcast. And on that same note, I just want to say thank you to Ira and Diane. We gave away all 11 of the podcasts that you donated 2 days ago. Judy is covering the state of Alabama. So anybody in Alabama that would like a podcast so that you can get out of your Fox News faux news bubble, we have about 4 of those left because she donated 12. We gave away 8. And Paul's amazing. Paul started this whole thing. Paul donated 12 podcasts to people in Ohio and also included Alabama and Texas in his desire to bust the fake news bubble. And we gave away of all of Paul's podcasts. So there's about 6 left. If you are in the state of, Ohio? Alabama. There are 6 left for Alabamians. All right, so all you got to do is contact us at RandiRhodes.com. There's the contact thing. Just write me and give me your email address, and I will make sure that you get that podcast. And it's a good thing to do because we are going to be traveling next week. Everyone here has to travel to be with their family, and we are not rich people like Orrin Hatch. Isn't Orrin Hatch one of the richest members of the Senate? Did you see that argument that went on between Orrin Hatch and Sherrod Brown last night? Oh, my God, like the nerve of Orrin. Orrin is a completely lobbied up. I mean, everyone who was ever on Capitol Hill knows that the line outside of Orrin Hatch's office isn't to pray or to use his bathroom. It's lobbyists sitting all over his office waiting to get their 10 minutes with Orrin to pitch Orrin something they want written into an existing bill, whether it's to leave carried interest alone, meaning, okay, so I'm making money off of money, and this year I'm going to make X amount of dollars, and I'd like to carry that over to next year because I don't want to pay this year. And Orrin is the guy who can make something like that happen. And in fact, in the Senate tax bill, there is zero reform of the carried interest tax loophole for money that makes money. I mean, work that makes money, not so much of a tax break for you. But money that makes money, it's all in there for you. And that's because of guys like Orrin Hatch. So this fight last night, and this is the thing. These Republicans, especially the uber right-wing you know, self-satisfied, preachy kinds of right-wing legislators who have this righteous indignation about, I've done everything for the poor people. They've done nothing for the poor people. It's just like every single legislator who ever voted for an anti-gay measure was probably caught somewhere along a highway in a bathroom with a wide stance. Okay, it's just, and the same thing with the molesters, okay? The molesters who don't apologize and stand on the bibble like Roy Moore, you know, and sends his little wife out to say, oh, it's all a plot against my... You know, these are the people that are married to men for 35 years and have no idea who those men are. They just never even bothered to get to know their own husbands. I mean, it's just a sick thing. So here you had, the reason why I opened up with, this, the Leanne girl who's accused Al Franken. First of all, this is my problem with her. She has worked in a extremely male-dominated, super sexualized world, and she has participated in that world. And, you know, it's of her own free will, and I'm not a judgy person, and I'm the first one to tell you I love porn, okay? And it does take women and men to make the porn. And so if you're making my porn, thank you. I'm not judging. But I just doubt that in all the years of posing and modeling for Maxim or Victoria's Secret, not Victoria's Secret, for Playboy and some other, you know, things like that, and doing these very sexualized videos to get people into this sports site that she was promoting, I just find it so hard to believe that Al Franken's skit rehearsal was the most haunting thing that ever happened to her. Now, here's the reason why, and I offer this up, okay? I've never gone into, like, all the crap that's ever happened to me sexually, okay? Just never did. Like I said, I wrote a book. It's all in there. We need a publisher. Now would be the time, because the story's in there about what it's like to try to become Randi Rhodes. The book is called Becoming Randi Rhodes. It's insane, okay? It's insane. The book is funny, but it's also deadly serious on many, many issues, especially of sexual assault. Just saying. That said, I only worked in radio, and the predators and the super predators that I encountered in my 20-something years are legendary. I mean, the stories are just endless. And like I said, I can't tweet them out on the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too, because there aren't enough characters allowed on the Twitter for me to sit there and tell you this book that I wrote is over 400 pages. That's how much crap there is to tell. All right. So I just find it so fascinating and almost horrifying that in all the years that she's been in this very male-dominated business of sexualized sports, and her agreement to become part of it, you know, all consensual, no problem. I'm not judging anybody, but that this was the most haunting experience that she ever had. I just can't get there. That's my issue. Also, I know Al, and Al is the least sexual person I've ever known. Yes, he is a full frontal lip kisser. He is one of those. He truly is. And but honestly, when you listen to some of the women who've accused Donald Trump or Roy Moore, how in the... Now, those are haunting experiences. Those are experiences that were malintentioned, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Those were malintentioned, invasive, aggressive, predatorial sexual experiences that a 14-year-old had with Roy Moore. A 16-year-old was called out of her classroom because Roy Moore called her high school to hunt her down. I mean, I'm so sorry. These stories...
It was over 35 years ago. I was hired by a newsprint company. I was a sales rep. I was traveling in the Middle West. I was coming back into New York City, and it was on that flight that the stewardess asked me would I like to move up to first class. I didn't need to be asked twice, and I sat down next to a young man, blonde, tall, and he introduced himself as Donald Trump. I was not really aware of the real estate world of Trump. We just chatted back and forth, nothing particular. It wasn't until they cleared the meal that somehow or another the armrest in the seat disappeared, And it was a real shock when all of a sudden his hands were all over me. He started encroaching on my space. And I hesitate to use this expression, but I'm going to. And that is, he was like an octopus. It was like he had 6 arms. He was all over the place. And if he had stuck with the upper part of the body, I might not have gotten that upset. But it's when he started putting his hand up my skirt. And that was it. That was it. I was out of there. And I don't think I said a word. During the late 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, culture had instilled in us that somehow it was our fault. The attention that we received from men, that we were responsible for their behavior. You didn't complain to the authorities, you didn't complain to your boss. If something happened to you, you just bucked up and you went on. I thought to myself, gee, I wish the stewardess would come and rescue me. And then I decided, I got up, I got my purse, and I said, I'm going back to my seat and coach. I was so glad to get back to that seat. I started telling my story about 1.5 years ago when it became apparent that Trump was actually running for president. And I started telling my friends, let me tell you what this guy is all about. I would like to think that sharing this story would make a difference both in the election and in society's view of women, to change some of the behavior, the sexual behavior between men and women in both directions. And I would like very much to feel like I've been a part of that.
Okay, that's Jessica Leeds, and that was her story. And I swear to God, when she told her story, do you know what the right-wing media did to her? They said they wanted to check out the aircraft she was on, see if the armrests were movable, right? Remember that? They wanted to, they were questioning her, like, why would it be okay if he only stayed at the upper portion of your body? You know, this is like 40 years later, she's going, maybe I would have been okay because I'm used to, you know, I was used to, you know, guys coming on like, but he went right under my dress. So this is what our president did. Now, I just showed you Leanne Tweeden reading on The View Al Franken's personal apology that he sent to her, saying that he is so sorry that he ruined the experience of her being on USO tours, and she accepts his apology, okay? On the other hand,
every woman lied when they came forward to hurt my campaign. Total fabrication. The events never happened. Never. All of these liars will be sued after the election. A new claim that I made inappropriate advances during the interview to this writer. And I ask a very simple question. Why wasn't it part of the story that appeared 20 or 12 years ago? Look at her words. You tell me what you think. I don't think so. Believe me, she would not be my first choice that I could have.
He's a pig. And that is the difference between somebody who is self-aware and realizes that perhaps an experience that you had with me haunted you after all these years. And if that's true, I'm so sorry that I contributed to any haunting feeling, to any anger that you've had towards me. I did not know. I don't remember it exactly the way you do. But you know what? You remember it this way. I'm more concerned with, you know, you feeling bad. I am so sorry. I should never, ever, ever have, written that skit or whatever it was, and standing up there and calling everybody liars. And this is what Donald Trump has done. This is what Roy Moore has done.
The people of Alabama understand what's going on here. That's right. My husband, Judge Roy Moore, is fighting for the people of Alabama and has been fighting for over 30 years. The people of Alabama know him. They have seen what he has done, fighting for life.
Oh, please. They love the fetus, they hate the child. This is a 14-year-old girl we're talking about, and she's still standing there as his wife, saying that this girl made all this crap up, and then all the other 7 girls all made this crap up. Now, I can almost guarantee you there's not going to be any other women who, have stories to tell about Al. I just don't think there will be. Now, I will tell you this. I was called by the Daily Beast. They asked me about, my experiences with Al. And I could tell you what I told them. I said I had never seen him harass anybody. I never heard that he had harassed anybody. And I worked with him for years. And that he is a full frontal lip kisser. Yes, he is. But it's not malicious. It's not predatory. I never got a sexual feeling from him. And that I had worked with lots of predators, and Al is not one of them. So they're checking, just so you know, they're checking with every woman who knows Al. And it was the senior editor over at the Daily Beast, and Andrew knows that, this is what I told him. And he was very quick to ask me, and he asked me this yesterday. Now, I know a lot of people think, oh, you're great friends with Al. I am not great friends with Al. I have other issues with Al. Much more to do with his ego and other things and needing a lot of PR and attention and that kind of thing. But nothing to do with aggressive, predatory, sexual, harassing behavior. Nothing. So they are doing their due diligence with Al, just so you know. The journalists out there, the real ones, are literally calling every woman that they could think of who's ever worked with Al. I'm sure they talked to Al's staffers, and I know they talked to all the girls that worked with him back at Air America, because they actually reached out to me too. So something is very different with the way that these self-aggrandizing Republican guys treat the women and Democrats.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
With a mostly party-line vote of 227 to 205, Republicans rammed a $1.5 trillion overhaul of business and personal income taxes through the House Thursday, moving a step closer toward the tax code's biggest rewrite in 3 decades and the first major legislative triumph for the Trump administration.
This is about giving hardworking taxpayers bigger paychecks, more take-home pay. This is about giving those families who are struggling peace of mind. It's about getting this economy to grow faster so we get bigger wages, more jobs, and we put America in the driver's seat in the global economy once again.
Now attention turns to the Senate, where its bill moved out of the Senate Finance Committee Thursday night on a party line 14-12 vote. But the fight in the Senate is expected to be tougher. Congress's nonpartisan Joint Commission on Taxation estimated that the Senate plan would mean higher taxes beginning in 2021 for families earning under $30,000 annually. By 2027, families making less than $75,000 would face tax hikes, while those making more would enjoy cuts. Robert Reich explains who this tax scam really benefits.
This entire escapade, this entire tax cut is payback for the Republican donor class. This is what it's all about. I mean, Republicans are not really looking at the polls right now. They are very aware of the fact that the donor class, I'm talking about, the Mercers and the Ricketts and the Koch brothers and all of the people that have invested so much in the GOP, what they want is they look at this as any other kind of investment. They want a return on that investment. And the return on the investment was going to be a huge tax cut. The stock market has been going up in anticipation of a corporate tax cut. It has nothing to do with the real economy. It has nothing to do with what's happening to average people. It's just a big payback for the major donors.
Senator Al Franken faces a likely ethics investigation after Leanne Tweeden, a Los Angeles radio personality, accused him Thursday of forcibly kissing and groping her during a 2006 USO tour in Afghanistan. He's the first member of Congress caught up in the recent wave of allegations of sexual abuse and inappropriate behavior. In a press conference, Tweeden explained what prompted her to come forward now.
And really, I'm doing it now because it's different. There's strength in numbers. Congresswoman Jackie Spear has come out, and she's talking about it now. And when she said she had that experience when she was in her 20s as a congressional aide and came out and said her chief of staff stopped her in an office and grabbed her face and kissed her and stuck his tongue in her mouth, And we had her on our air, and she said that to us while we were interviewing her on McIntyre in the Morning, the show that I'm the news anchor on. And I looked at Doug, and I went, I kind of mouthed, I'm like, that was Al Franken to me. And I said, I think that was my catalyst to sort of go, you know, if I'm going to tell my story, now is the time. 2017 is not 2006. You know, it's just a different time. And maybe I can be somebody's Jackie Spear, and they can tell their story in real time and not wait.
Franken issued a lengthy apology in which he asked for an ethics investigation of himself, something the Senate majority and minority leaders also called for. The president weighed in on Franken via a couple of tweets, calling him Al Frankenstein, but he still hasn't commented on the Roy Moore allegations. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was asked about that during her first press briefing since they returned from Asia.
Does the president believe Roy Moore's accusers, and does he think Roy Moore should drop out of this race?
Look, the president believes that these allegations are very troubling and should be taken seriously, and he thinks that the people of Alabama should make the decision on who their next senator should be.
So that's a no. He thinks Roy Moore should stay in?
Look, the president said in his statement earlier this week that if the allegations are true, then that Roy Moore should step aside. He still firmly believes that.
Of course, the president still insists that all 16 or more women who have accused him of sexual harassment are lying.
You say that the president finds these allegations against Mr. Moore, Judge Moore, to be very troubling, extremely troubling, etc. As we all know, the president faced a number of similar allegations, or somewhat similar allegations, during the course of the campaign, and he vigorously denied them. But I wonder what you would assert to be the difference between the two situations, such that on the face of things, we should find one set of allegations very troubling, and on the other, we shouldn't pay attention to them at all, or we should totally disbelieve them.
Well, I think the president has certainly a lot more insight into what he personally did or didn't do, and he spoke out about that directly during the campaign, and I don't have anything further to add beyond that.
Part of the controversial Keystone XL pipeline was shut down Thursday after 210,000 gallons of oil leaked in South Dakota. The leak comes before Nebraska officials are scheduled to vote Monday morning on whether to approve a 275-mile-long extension of the project through that state. State approval is needed after the Trump administration revived the project, even though it had been rejected by the Obama administration. A bipartisan group of senators have joined forces on legislation to strengthen the FBI database of prohibited gun buyers after the Air Force failed to report the criminal history of the gunman who killed more than 24 people at a Texas church. The bill would ensure that federal agencies and states accurately report relevant criminal information to the FBI. The bill also seeks to improve accountability by publicly reporting which agencies and states fail to provide the required records. And that's a bit of what's news for now. I'm Nicole Sandler. If you appreciate these reports and the Nicole Sandler Show, I hope you'll consider a contribution. My work is 100% listener funded, and I can't do it without you. Find out more at NicoleSandler.com/donate.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The lack of mention from the president about Roy Moore. I want to show you the latest that he's polling right now, heading into that Alabama Senate race. Right now, he's trailing Doug Jones, 42 to 50% in Alabama, but he still has a lot of support. But we haven't heard a lot from the president. He's tweeting on Al Franken. He was asked about Roy Moore yesterday, and he did not respond.
Well, Al Franken was a brand new news story yesterday, and the president weighed in, as he does on the news of the day, often enough. The Roy Moore story is 8 days old, and the president put out a statement during his Asia trip on that. And since then, our press secretary has spoken on behalf of the president by saying that he believes the people of Alabama will sort out what to do with Roy Moore and with that election.
Holy crap. So the Roy Moore story is stale and old and pasty because it's got 8 days on it. And the Al Franken story, the reason why the president tweeted last night, you know what the president tweeted last night about Al? He said, the Al Frankenstein picture is really bad, speaks 1,000 words. Where do his hands go in pictures 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 while she sleeps? Now, that would have almost been clever, the Al Frankenstein, if he hadn't misspelled it. Jesus. Now, Al has apologized. I mean, the second that this woman, Leanne came forward, he issued a statement. Then he issued a longer statement yesterday, telling her, "I'm so sorry that you've got this horrible, memory. It doesn't matter if the picture is offensive to me or not. What matters is, oh my God, it was offensive to you, and I'm so sorry." And I have no respect for men who don't respect women. I am not a man who doesn't respect women. I am so sorry. I mean, maybe I should just, look at myself and revisit some of my behavior, like the kissing on the lips thing, Al. Really? Who does that? I'm just saying. My friend Steve does it too. Steve and Karen are our best friends. Steve is a full frontal lip kisser too, and it's like, okay, we get it. It's not sexual and it's not aggressive, and I don't take it as oh, he's harassing me, he's abusing me. He's my best friend Karen's husband is a full frontal kisser. Al Franken also full frontal. But it's not predatory, and but he apologizes to her anyway, and then he writes her a personal letter, which she reads on The View this morning, and says that was a great apology. I got to say that was just fabulous. And Kellyanne Conway goes on TV and says that the reason why Trump is tweeting about Al and not saying anything about Roy Moore's pedophilia or trolling of teenagers or being banned from a mall, or even the fact that Roy Moore doesn't follow the rule of law as a Supreme Court justice and was kicked off the Alabama Supreme Court twice. One, because the Supreme Court told him, the U.S. Supreme Court told him, remove that damn Ten Commandments monument because you didn't even ask your other justices. You were so rude about it. And by the way, we have a separation of church and state. It's got to go. And he was kicked off the court because he wouldn't take it away. He wouldn't remove it. And he put it there in the middle of the night without even consulting his fellow justices. I mean, that's how rude and arrogant this guy is. Then he's kicked off the court again because he refused to follow the rule of law when the Supreme Court said that, same-sex marriage is part of equal justice, equal protection under the law, part of our Constitution, and you have to permit marriage licenses to be issued in Alabama. He instructed his justices below him and his courts and his, clerks, not to issue marriage licenses, and he got kicked off the court again. While he was on the court, and he was a district court judge, he actually ruled that a woman who was, getting divorced from her husband could not have unsupervised visitation rights with her child because she was gay. And he personally felt that would somehow screw up her children. So he ordered custody to be given to the father and no unsupervised visits for the mother, who had done absolutely nothing wrong in her life. I mean, hadn't stolen a pack of Twinkies. You know what I mean? Nothing. This is the kind of ridiculous justice that Roy Moore believes in. He's unsuitable for any public office. Alabama has kicked him off the Supreme Court twice, for God's sake. These are the kinds of rulings he made. He also ruled in a case where a 17-year-old boy raped a 4-year-old toddler, that the toddler didn't have any, a sense of violence in that rape. And so, therefore, you couldn't convict the 17-year-old boy. Now, he was the only person on the Alabama Supreme Court that ruled that way in favor of that 17-year-old boy who raped a 4-year-old child who will be haunted by this for the rest of her natural-born days. But he ruled on for the 17-year-old rapist. I'm so sorry, this man does not belong anywhere on the Supreme Court. And when I hear his wife tell me, he's been fighting for us, he's been fighting for life. You know how bad I want to tell her? Do you have any idea the words I want to use? But I won't. I will restrain my own damn self. I am so disgusted with this, all of this. If you accuse a Republican of improper sexual behavior with an underage girl, if you accuse a Republican of improper behavior in a freaking roadside bathroom. If you accuse, they will deny it until somebody, sets them up in a sting, or until there's an audio recording where he's leaving a message asking for his meth dealer to please deliver the meth, and it gets played in public. Other than that, you are all liars. You are all making crap up about that. And yet, when a Democrat, is accused, look at how Al behaved. Yes, like a man, like a real mensch. I mean, this is so sad. And here are the list of the women that the president of the United States was accused by.
Now let's look back at some of the women who have come forward with allegations against President Trump leading up to the election. We'll start with former Miss Finland, Nini Laaksonen, who told a Finnish newspaper that Trump groped her before an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman back in 2006. Then there's Jessica Drake. She said Trump invited her to his hotel room and tried to kiss her and her friends without permission. She claims he later offered her $10,000 and a chance to use his private jet if she went to dinner with him. Karen Virginia said Trump walked up, grabbed her arm, and then touched the inside of her breast at the 1998 U.S. Open. Kathy Heller told The Guardian some 20 years ago, Trump grabbed her, tried to kiss her, and grew angry when she twisted away. Summer Zervos claimed Trump groped her in 2007. She brought a defamation suit against him after he called her and other accusers liars. Kristen Anderson described an incident to the Washington Post where a finger slid under her miniskirt, moved up her inner thigh, and touched her vagina through her underwear at a crowded Manhattan night spot in the 90s.
Can I just say we're only halfway through this clip? All right, then.
She fled the area and turned to take a look at the man who did it. Anderson said she recognized him. It was Donald Trump. Jessica Leeds told the New York Times she was on a plane with Trump in the early 80s when he grabbed her breasts and reached his hand up her skirt. Rachel Crooks told the New York Times she was assaulted by Trump in an elevator in Trump Tower in 2005. Mindy McGilvray told the Palm Beach Post Trump groped her while she was attending a concert at Mar-a-Lago in
We're 3/4 through.
2003. Natasha Stoynoff wrote in People magazine that Trump pushed her against a wall and jammed his tongue down her throat at Mar-a-Lago in what is now seeming a busy 2005. Jennifer Murphy, another contestant on The Apprentice, told a fashion magazine Trump kissed her on the lips after a job interview in 2005. Yahoo News reported Cassandra Searles wrote in a Facebook comment that Trump grabbed her butt and invited her to his hotel room. Former Miss Utah Temple Taggart told the New York Times Trump kissed her directly on the lips the first time she met him back in '97. Jill Harth alleged in the New York Times Trump pushed her against a wall, tried to kiss her, put his hands up her skirt, and touched her crotch at a dinner one night. And finally, and I need to take a drink on this one, I'm so tired from all of these, the multiple reports from beauty pageant contestants in a BuzzFeed article, including, wait for it, teen beauty pageant contestants alleging that Donald Trump had walked in on them while he was changing.
They were changing while they were changing. But I mean, who could blame her? Who could blame Stephanie Ruhle for running out of breath? Really? While they were changing, teenaged contestants, one as young as 15 years old, they all stick together. This is just so disgustingly grotesque. This is so unbelievable. And Trump will not say anything about Roy Moore. He won't say anything about Roy Moore. And Kellyanne Conway says it's because the story is old. It's 8 days old. 8 days old. The president was caught on tape, as you all know, saying that he just starts kissing them. He can't help it. He just can't.
Moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it. Whoa. I did try and fuck her. She was married.
That's huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was...
Did you hear that? I mean, that's a part that never really gets played. This is why I like the unbleeped version, okay? Yeah, I did try to fuck her, is what he said. I mean, this is sick.
Moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and fuck her. She was married.
That's huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was... And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. Then all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look.
She's your girl's hot as shit in the purple.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, the Donald has scored.
Whoa.
Oh, my man. Wait, you got to look at me when you get out. You're like,
sets this up.
That is very
you give me the thumbs
Look
up.
at you. You are a
You got to put the thumbs up. You got to get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
else off first? Yeah, let me.
It's very fun.
You got to give me the thumbs up.
All right, you and I will walk there.
Oh, my God.
Maybe it's a different one.
Better not be the publicist. No, it's her.
Yeah, that's her, with the gold. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
Look at those legs. All I can see is the legs.
No, it looks good.
Come on, shorty.
Oh, nice legs, huh?
Oof, get out of the way, honey. That's good legs. Go ahead.
It's always good if you don't fall out of the bus. Like Ford, Gerald Ford, remember?
Down below. Pull the hand.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
Mr. Trump, how
nice
are
seeing you.
Pleasure
Terrific.
to meet you.
Terrific. You know Billy Bush?
How are you?
Nice to see you. How you doing,
Very
Ariane?
good.
I'm doing very well, thank you. Are you ready to be a soap star?
We're ready. Let's go. Make me a soap star.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the
Would
bus.
you like a little hug,
Okay,
darling?
absolutely.
Ew.
Melania said
hug
this
for the
was
bushy.
okay.
I just got off the bus.
Bushy.
There we go. Excellent.
Everybody's lying. Everybody is lying. They're all liars.
Every woman lied when they came forward to hurt my campaign.
They're all liars. Everyone's lying. Kellyanne Conway. It's old news. It's 8 days. 8 days. You know, I have food in my refrigerator that's older than this Roy Moore story. What is wrong with her? It's old. That's why he's not saying anything about it. It's an old story. And the tweeting about Al Franken, I got to say, you know, what does he mean? Where would his hands go in later pictures? Because Trump thinks all men would follow the Trump playbook. And we all know what Trump does next. He reaches under your dress and touches your vagina. We know that because we heard it from Trump himself. You know, he just starts kissing them and then he could grab them by the P word. And all these women. It's so funny that Donald Trump only has the one move.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show. It's Friday, and that's payday, which doesn't happen without you. I've got a taste of the good life, and now I've got addictions that need to continue. A man's got to eat, and he can't eat without your support. So help Randi support me. Go to RandiRhodes.com/support, and everybody gets fed.
Hey, I need to tell you something about Herky Jerky because over the past year, you've been asking me to ask Jason from Herky Jerky if they will ever produce a turkey jerky. Well, I'm proud to tell you that he says absolutely yes. And not only does he have it now, it's absolutely spectacular. Let me start with the taste. It is extremely soft and slightly sweet, and it's bite-sized pieces that taste just like the homemade oven-roasted turkey that you have on Thanksgiving. It's made from turkeys raised without added hormones and just the right amount of salt, natural smoke flavoring, and spices that will make your taste buds go wild. And you asked for healthy. Well, Herky Jerky Turkey Jerky has no nitrates, preservatives, MSG, or artificial ingredients, absolutely zero fat, and packs a whopping 11 grams of protein per serving, and very low in cholesterol. Quite simply, I think this is one of the healthiest and best tasting high protein snacks you can get. And for the whole month of November, $5 off any turkey jerky pack you desire. $5 off, just use promo code TURKEY. They don't sell the little dinky bags that you get at the gas station. They're 14-ounce zip-sealed packs, and they're meant to last. Herky Jerky, making quality jerky and meat snacks for almost 25 years. Gotta tell you, I believe this is as good as anything I've ever tasted and the best thing they've ever produced. Try some today, herkyjerky.com.
This is the voice of the resistance. You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network.
Dear fellow progressive, these are the times that try men's souls. It is not the first time our country has been in peril, and it won't be the last. It is, however, a unique threat from within, one the precise likes of which we have never seen before. It is our modern media mix that has enabled an incurious, unserious, pathological liar and textbook narcissist to accede to the highest office in the land. His is a world of make-believe, one that could only have been concocted by a student of reality TV. At least we know he studied something. The imagined slights, the trumped-up, pun intended, feuds, the insulting nicknames, the Twitter diarrhea, it is all of a piece. Entertaining, funny even in another context, but when you're busy blowing up the country's longest-running foreign relationships, devastating the environment, threatening trade wars, and embracing all the wrong actors, it's really hard to find the humor. At Progressive Voices, we take holding the powerful accountable as our most serious mission, and there is nothing more important to us today than making sure the PV audience is informed with unbiased information and that more and more people become part of our audience, and therefore are better informed than they can be by relying solely on the mainstream media, which, in so many ways, has shrunk from its duty as the watchdog of democracy. It is our sincere hope that you will help us in this important mission at this most critical hour. Go to progressivevoices.com and make your donation today. Please give whatever you can. Remember, we are a tax-exempt 501c3, meaning that your donations are fully tax-deductible. Thanks for supporting the Progressive Voices Network.
Hi, it's Randi Rhodes. Listen to me on the PV live stream or on demand or both on the PV app. Just go to progressivevoices.com or download the Progressive Voices app.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Does his endorsement of Moore still stand?
Look, as I've said, the president believes this is a decision for the people of Alabama to make, not one for him to make.
On Roy Moore, would the president campaign with Roy Moore?
Not that I'm aware of.
Sarah, we've heard from you. Sarah, we've heard from you, and we've heard from Ivanka on this. When are we going to hear from the president himself?
The president has put a statement out earlier in the week when we were on the trip.
What happened? It cut out. But, yeah. But, you know, Sarah Sanders is saying, oh, the president has said all he's going to say about Roy Moore. You know, this is unbelievable. So he finally spoke out forcibly about people who engage in sexual misconduct and oppose him politically. And it's pretty clear which of these two things Donald Trump finds offensive or bad or sad behavior. It's people who oppose him politically. People who expose his attorney general as being a world heavyweight champion liar, as Al Franken did. So, honest to God, man, do you remember the Hillary commercial?
Putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing. When I come home and dinner's not ready, I go through the roof.
Grab them by the and when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
More accusers coming forward to say they were sexually assaulted by Donald Trump.
And I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed.
Donald Trump walked into the dressing room while contestants, some as young as 15, were changing.
They're standing there with no clothes. You see these incredible looking women.
Their children.
I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. She ate like a pig.
A person who's flat-chested is very hard to be a 10.
So you treat women with respect?
I can't say that either.
All right.
That's your president who's passing judgment on Al Franken. That's your president. A man who calls every woman, and there are legions of them. I mean, it took almost 3 minutes to talk about the ones who have come forward that he threatened to sue, that he never did sue because they're not lying and he has no case. When you list their names, and that doesn't even include the teenaged contestants from his Miss USA teenaged pageant. You know, remember this?
I love the old days.
You know, I mean, we all tried to tell you, didn't we? We did. We tried. Now, just as, for example, Louis C.K. has, admitted to really gross behavior. All right, Louis C.K. has Now, if you know his comedy, one of his topics, big topics, one of the things that he totally talks about all the time is his fascination with masturbation. I mean, he's like telling you everything, but you're not hearing. Anyway, Louis C.K. was called out by women who said that, yes, Louis actually will rip his clothes off when you go into a room with him, and he will just start masturbating in front of you, and it's just disgusting. And so Sarah Silverman, who is best friends with Louis C.K., and of course a very prominent Democrat, she was a burner, okay? She was just like me. She was a Bernie girl. And then when Hillary became the nominee, she went on TV and she said that this crazy thing with Bernie or bust is just plain stupid, and you're going to cheat yourself out of a decent president, and you're going to end up with a fascist, molesting, hideous, lying sack of hairspray crap in the Oval Office, right? Now she's confronted with one of her best friends being accused of sexual aggressive behavior, unwanted behavior in front of women. And here's how she reacts. Wait, that's me. That's my fault. No, it's Brett's fault.
One of my best friends of over 25 years, Louis C.K., masturbated in front of women. He wielded his power with women in f***ed up ways, sometimes to the point where they left comedy entirely. I could couch this with heartwarming stories of our friendship and what a great dad he is, but that's totally irrelevant, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's a real mind you know, because I love Louis, but Louis did these things. Both of those statements are true. So I just keep asking myself, can you love someone who did bad things? Can you still love them? I can mull that over later, certainly, because the only people that matter right now are the victims. They are victims, and they're victims because of something he did. So I hope it's okay if I am at once very angry for the women he wronged and the culture that enabled it, and also sad, because he's my friend. But I believe with all my heart that this moment in time is essential. It's vital that people are held accountable for their actions, no matter who they are. We need to be better. We will be better. I can't wait to be better.
There's a difference, you see, between open-minded, conscious, socially aware, really working to make a difference in this world kinds of people, and people who are covering their asses after they grab yours. Big difference. And it just seems to me that the more righteous indignation and the more you call somebody a liar when there are 11 women or 7 women or 8 women or 12 women or that all tell the same story and all say, he's got this move. This is his move. He grabs you by the vagina. He goes right under the skirt, or he doesn't pinch your ass. He grabs your ass, or he was trolling the mall and he was banned from the mall. And the reason why is because there were young teenage girls at the mall and the security guards all knew he was banned at the mall, and that Alabama actually voted for this guy after he was removed from the Supreme Court not once but twice, and now they will vote for him to be a U.S. Senator is sickening. And that we have a president with zero morals, zero high ground on any of these issues, who cannot speak about child molestation because he's been accused of it as well, is the saddest, sickest place for this country to be in the 21st freaking century. And it's all because of voters like these.
I think at a young age she may have pushed the issue and she got probably rejected, and now she's saying something that really I don't happen.
Do you think that these women are telling the truth?
I think that they're out for money. I think they're being pushed by the other people to say things that is not true.
Who are these other people?
I wouldn't really like to say that on TV.
Sure. So you think that...
But I think really Luther Strange is probably behind a lot of this. Yeah. I really don't trust him, and I just don't trust him.
You believe Roy Moore?
I believe in Roy Moore all the way, 100%.
Yeah.
Tribal she is. She's literally tribal. Where Roy Moore sits is where she stands. If Roy Moore says the Bible gives permission to own slaves, the Bible gives permission to take young girls, the Bible gives permission to sacrifice your sons and daughters to, prove your... Then Roy Moore will actually legislate for that to be legal in the United States. And that is what is so creepy about these people. See, Donald Trump is one of the dirtiest businessmen that have ever come down the pike. He's one of the most... world heavyweight champion liars we've ever known, and he calls everybody else a liar, even though everybody else has the same story and they don't know each other. You know, he asks you stupid questions to deflect and distract. You know, when he started calling this People magazine reporter a liar, he said, well, why didn't she put it in People magazine, you know, that I grabbed her when she was there interviewing me? Why didn't she put it in the article 20 years ago? Yeah, I got a question for you, you moron. How come Billy Bush didn't put on Access Hollywood that day that you said you were trying to fuck Nancy O'Dell and you can grab women by the pussy? How come he didn't put that on TV? How come the Washington Post had to go find that video? And then answer me this, riddle me this, Batman. How did WikiLeaks know to release Podesta's emails an hour after that tape hit the press? How did they know? Turns out Jared Kushner doesn't turn over documents. He's been, I'm turning over the document. I'm going to, play. I'm going to cooperate. Turns out Jared Kushner didn't turn over documents that show that he was in touch with WikiLeaks, just like Roger Stone was in touch with WikiLeaks, just like Junior was in touch with WikiLeaks, just like Cambridge Analytica was in touch with WikiLeaks. Everyone's talking to WikiLeaks. Right after the meeting in Junior's office with the Russians, where the Russians say we have dirt on Hillary Clinton, but in exchange we want the sanctions removed. Right after that meeting, all of a sudden these things start getting leaked out. And everybody's coordinating with everybody else. The whole Trump campaign is coordinating with the entire document dump of illegally stolen material that was stolen by the Russians from the Democratic National Committee. And Roger Stone knows that Podesta's next in the barrel. Oh, and by the way, Roger Stone, like I said yesterday, knew at 1 o'clock in the morning that Leanne was going to come forward with her story about Al Franken and show a photo of their USO tour. How did he know? I'm telling you, this whole freaking thing is coordinated, and it's for everything that they're doing is to continue to make money off of foreign investments. That's all this is about. This is the last scene in Fargo. She's driving in the car. She finally got the guy who put his friend in the wood chipper in the car. He's under arrest. He's already murdered, Mr. Gunderson's wife. Now he's murdered his own freaking friend, Steve Buscemi. He's put him in a wood chipper. And she says to him, what was all this for? A little bit of money? And it's such a beautiful day. It's a sickness. And we have a very, very sick Republican Party. They literally are going to throw 13 million people off of their health care in order to give a tax break to corporations who are seeing record profits right now without a tax cut, who don't seem to be raising anybody's wages. And again, the reason for that is not because corporations are evil. It's because the CEOs of corporations do not have a duty to say, we're very profitable now, we need to raise the employees' salaries. Their duty is to the shareholders. Their financial responsibility as CEO, the job that they signed the contract to take, specifies that when the company is profitable, the shareholders benefit. The shareholders get paid, and they get paid first. The company gets paid second, and they buy back their stock, and there is no obligation to reward the employees at all, ever. And that's why it's never done. So you have these companies that are sitting on billions of dollars in profits. Their effective tax rates are, on average, 19%, well below the average in the world. They'd say, oh, we have the highest, tax rate. Yes, statutorily, but the effective tax rate, meaning what you pay after all the loopholes are used, is on average 15 to 19%. And a lot of multi-billion-dollar companies manage a zero effective tax rate, and some of them actually manage negative tax rates, meaning we pay them. We already pay them. So this is ridiculous, but this is who they are. And when they tell you who they are, you ought to believe them. And this brings me to Orrin Hatch last night. This righteous indignation from one of the richest members of the Senate. Orrin Hatch is one of the richest members of the Senate. Now, how does he make money being a career politician if it has nothing to do with, he knows, oh, let's just use a simple example, that the highway is going to be built over here, so he knows to buy the McDonald's at the exits. Do you know what I'm saying? But, oh, no, he's a poor guy. He pleads poverty last night.
Senator Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I go back again to the historic meeting in the White House with the 5 most important Democratic senators on this committee, and Senator Wyden in attendance. And I'm sorry for those that didn't get invited. But you always learn something in this world. And what I learned from that meeting was I saw the playbook on how President Trump and majority Republicans were going to sell this tax cut, because they fundamentally, intuitively know, all of you do, that the public always knows that when Republicans are in power, the first thing they want to do is give tax cuts to the rich. That's just it's in their DNA. It's what they're going to do. We know that. So they fundamentally, and the chairman laughs, but he knows over 40 years it's always true. But the public fundamentally, just intuitively, almost viscerally understands that that's what they're going to do. So the tax cuts are not really going to be for the middle class, no matter how many times they sing that song. So the Republican strategy in the White House, and I know the president doesn't always follow the exact script that Senator McConnell and Speaker Ryan write for him, but the president said, I'll bet you 5 times, and it was mimicked by a whole bunch of my colleagues, that wages were going to go up $4,000 each for American workers. Some will go up as much as $9,000. They said it over and over again. And they kind of have this bank shot. You give tax cuts and the tax, hard to understand. But then you think about this. A dozen years ago when you did the tax holiday here, all the corporations had all this money, and of course they were going to be eager to give it out to work. Well, actually, they didn't give it out to workers. They did stock buybacks. They did executive compensation. They paid out in dividends. Right. Then somebody cited Britain. Great Britain has done a series of tax cuts. And their wages were flat too. So this is really wishful thinking. But I do know that the TV ads that are going to be run against the 5 most important senators on this committee, the TV ads that the independent groups will run, will of course say Senator McCaskill and Senator Casey and Senator Stabenow and Senator Nelson are voting against a $4,000 raise that this tax cut is going to bestow on them. Right. We know it's coming. We know you'll have way more money to promote that than we will have to defend it, but that's why the Wyden Amendment is so important. And I just think it would be nice just tonight, before we go home, to just acknowledge, well, this tax cut really is not for the middle class, it's for the rich. And that whole thing about higher wages, well, it's a good selling point, but we know companies don't just give away higher wages. They just don't give away higher wages just because they have more money. Corporations are sitting on a lot of money now. They're sitting on a lot of profits now. I don't see wages going up. So just spare us the bank shots, spare us the sarcasm. And
all right, I'm going to take a break here, and then when we come back, I'm going to play you Orrin Hatch's righteous indignation at Sherrod Brown laying out the true facts about corporations, their profitability currently, sitting on wads of cash currently, not passing it down to the workers, the Bush tax cuts, corporate tax cuts, wages stayed stagnant, didn't pass it on to the worker. The Obama tax cuts, both of them, didn't pass it on to the worker. Obama's tax repatriation plan, bring your overseas profits back to the United States at a much, much lower tax rate. They did. and they paid themselves. They paid their shareholders. They bought back their stock. So we have many, many, many examples of what happens when corporate tax rates are very low and how they don't pass it on to the worker because that is not their function.
To speak to Randi, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
Randi Rhodes. Air Force.
Hey guys, it's Scotty, Randi's producer here, and as many of you know, I grew up in Randi's house. You know, eating her food, watching her TV, and like most kids, ignorantly not following her advice. And one of her biggest pieces of advice was, never take a job in radio, because the big companies that run radio, they suck. Well, I didn't listen and ended up working in radio, and as always, Randi was right, they sucked. But I'm here now, and I can tell you that it takes a lot of chutzpah to break away from the big companies and start your own show. But you know what else it takes? Your support. We are independent media, so the only financial backers we have are you, the best listeners in the world. And we can't do it without you. So please, go to RandiRhodes.com and support the show, buy a stinking podcast, donate some money, and keep us going.
This is the voice of the resistance. You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network.
This is Ezra Levin, Executive Director of Indivisible. Please go to indivisibleguide.com, type in your zip code, find your local Indivisible group, and join the movement to resist Trump's agenda. We've teamed up with Progressive Voices Network to help your community take action and hold Congress accountable.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. President Barack Obama. We wrote this guide because we believe that the coming years will see an unprecedented movement of Americans rising up across the country to protect our values, our neighbors, and ourselves. Our goal is to provide a practical understanding of how your members of Congress think and how you can demonstrate to them the depth and power of the opposition to Donald Trump and the Republican congressional overreach. This is not a panacea, nor is it intended to stand alone. We strongly urge you to marry the strategy in this guide with a broader commitment to creating a more just society, building local power, and addressing systemic injustice and racism.
Take action and hold Congress accountable. This is Ezra Levin on the Progressive Voices Network, asking you to join the millions who decided to become part of the movement to resist Trump's agenda. Check out indivisibleguide.com to start resisting on your home turf. Keep listening for more ways you can get involved.
This is the voice of the resistance. You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, so Sherrod Brown was telling the absolute truth about this this corporate tax cut, and obviously the Center for the Joint Committee on Taxation, CBO, everybody scored this thing, and the lion's share, 80% of everything goes to the very, very wealthy in corporate America, and we all get it, and we're going to lose health insurance, and that's going to add to your the stress of living. The cost of your life, right? And Orrin knows it, and he at the beginning of Sherrod Brown's railing upon this BS that they're putting out and the commercials they're going to run against these Democrats who are trying very hard to draw your attention to the fact that this is a massive giveaway at the expense of Medicaid, Medicare Trust Fund. Yes, $400 billion gets cut out of Medicare. Almost $1 trillion gets cut out of Medicaid. It's $800 billion. And that the lion's share of these tax cuts, $1.38 trillion, goes to the top, tippy top 1%. Bernie's tried to tell you, everybody's tried to tell, and 52% of America knows it. Okay. So here's Orrin's response.
The satire, and
I'm going to spare it, but I'm going to just say to you that I come from the poor people.
Oh my God.
And I've been here working my whole stinking career.
His whole stinking career. Buy a stinking
for people
podcast.
who don't have a chance. And I really resent anybody saying that I'm just doing this for the rich. Give me a break. I think you guys overplay that all the time, and it gets old. And frankly, you ought to quit it.
Mr. Chairman, the public believes it.
Just, I'm
The
not
public
through.
knows it.
I get kind of sick and tired of it.
Too bad.
True, it's a nice political play.
Well, Mr.
But
Chairman,
it's not true.
with all due respect, I get sick and tired of the richest people
Regular
in the
order,
country
Mr. Chairman.
getting richer and
Regular order.
richer. We do a tax
Regular order.
middle class
Wait a minute,
Regular order.
and over and over again.
Wait just
How
a
many
second.
times do we do this before we learn this?
Listen, I've honored you by allowing you to spout off here. And what you said was not right. That's all I'm saying.
It was true,
I come
though.
from the lower middle class originally. We didn't have anything.
How'd you get so
So
rich?
don't spew that stuff on me. I get a little tired of that crap. And let me just say something. If we worked together, we could pull this country out of every mess it's in. And we could do a lot of the things that you're talking about, too. And I think I've got a reputation of having worked together with Democrats.
Let's start with Chip.
Not starting with Chip. I did it. I've done it for years. I've got more bills.
Start with Chip today.
I got more bills passed than everybody on this committee put together. And they've been passed for the benefit of people in this country.
He gets paid by everybody. Go to opensecrets.org. Go check out Orrin Hatch's corporate donors. Go check out Orrin Hatch by industry. Go check out who Orrin Hatch really represents, okay? And that the righteous indignation, they're all liars, and I've done more for the poor. I come from the poor people. He's one of the richest members of the Senate. How in the hell did poor, broke-ass Orrin Hatch get so rich doing this stinking job, as he calls it? How did he make all this stinking money, Orrin? And why did the Republicans just vote to uncover all these children they love so much through the CHIP program? You know, the Children's Health Insurance Program. They canceled it. They canceled it. This is something we worked to get in 1995. And the Republicans just wiped it out. Why? Because they need the money from the children to give to Orrin's donors. That's why. But I love the righteous indignation. I love that Sherrod Brown, he was doing it, kind of jokingly going, we all know the commercials you're going to run. We get, but, we've all seen the reports and we know who this tax cut benefits. And, we all know that the, ordinary person, their tax cut's going to expire. We all know that their health insurance is going to go away. We know the people who could afford it, their premiums are going to go up 10% every year if you take away the mandate, because all the healthy people come out of the plan and only the sick people left in the insurance company's going to have to increase their premiums to cover their bills. So, we get it, Orrin. We get it. We just don't know why you're doing it. We just don't know what they got on you. Now, you didn't call Sherrod Brown a liar, did he? No. He said it wasn't right for him to call him out because Orrin doesn't have a third leg to stand on. He's an old man. All right, Rich in Denver.
Hey, Randy, great show. And before Thanksgiving, I just want to say I am thankful for Randi Rhodes and Howard and everybody. You guys kick ass. You're doing yeoman's work, woman's work over there. Everybody buy a stinking podcast, give the show, give money to the show. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you so much.
This guy is a whore, and the guy on 1600 Pencil, I'm going to say he's not my president. He's an effing whore. He's a piece of shit, and you got the picture of him with his daughter when she's 13 years old, sitting on his lap at Mar-a-Lago, and the other picture with Marla Maples where she's grinding on his lap at a dance. Little Ivanka Trump.
He's a pig. It came right out of his own mouth. He said he was trying to fuck Nancy O'Dell, and she was married, so I took her furniture shopping. I mean, come on.
He wants to fuck his own daughter. He said, I date her if she wasn't my daughter. You don't date people to not fuck them. Come on. I mean, you know what? When a man says that about a woman, he says he wants to date her. He wants to have a sexual relationship with her. Walking into the Miss Team, the other part of his ad, the one about Hillary, where he said, she ran, I moved on her like a bitch. This guy is a piece of shit, and yeah, no wonder he's silent. And I got to tell you about what's her name, Leanne Sweden. She was in Playboy. Come on, Randy. If you go to bed at night and there's no snow on the ground, and you wake up in the morning and there's snow on the ground, you know, who popped that call at 1 o'clock in the morning? Come on. That plan is flawed.
Here's the thing about Leanne, okay? I find it really hard to believe because she's in radio, she's in sports radio, she's done videos, she's a model, she's done men's magazines. I just find it so hard to believe that life's work of hers, which, you know, God love her, she's gorgeous, she should do it. If she feels empowered to, you know, by doing it, I applaud her. But I find it hard to believe that Al Franken's skit rehearsal was the most haunting thing that ever came across her plate in all these years of being in this man's world. Because I know in radio what happened with me. Okay, and so this is just not believable that this is the thing that's been haunting her for all these years, and it's the only.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you were.
I have a funny feeling that she did this. That she did this in coordination with some of the people, you know, around her, like the Roger Stones, et cetera, and that when she got out there, and this happens a lot, when you know, a lot of people wish that they were famous, and I could tell you, as somebody who was, I'm not anymore, but I was. That when you're
still famous, Randy.
Well, thank you. But when you get there, when you get to that level of fame, the kind where people from Gawker are following you around, where the New York Post is taking pictures of you and you know, walking your dog with no makeup on, this kind of thing. It's not ever what you think it would have been, you know, it would be. And I got a funny feeling she stuck her big toe in this, you know, giant media circus, and she realize this is not fun. This isn't the way I thought it would be. Al's apologized. I'm out. I really think that's what happened.
But I think, but like you said, all that stuff she's done long before, and like you said, he's not the most, you know, gentle or a masculine guy. You know, he's more funny. And I saw the picture. All the stuff she's done long before this. You mean to tell me being a Playboy model and all this and being around the Playboy? No man has ever done something to you more than Al Franken did. Come on.
That's the hard part. That's the part I find hard to believe. And I'm not even, you know, saying that, you know, I believe me, like I said, I love porn, and to all my porn actors and actresses who supply me with my porn, thank you. But honestly, the idea that this was the most haunting thing that ever happened to her in radio, or in entertainment, or in modeling, or in doing these sports video, I just can't imagine. Now, if that's true, that this was the most haunting, horrific thing that ever happened to her, she should count her lucky stars. She is so lucky. Yeah. Corporal Devin from the United States Marine Corps in Baton Rouge.
Hello.
Hi.
Long-time fan, first-time psycho caller. All right. First of all, have you ever tried to grope a blackjack?
Yes, I know she was wearing body armor, literally.
Yeah. And second of all, if, say, I agreed to, I'm going to take a worst-case scenario, a script in which I made out with Dick Cheney.
Ew.
And I didn't say anything about it, and Dick Cheney kissed me backstage. Would I really be justified complaining about that? Especially if Dick Cheney...
If Dick Cheney kissed you and he was aggressive and sexual and predatory, yes, you should complain about that.
Yeah. But
right. Okay. Melanie in Albany, New York.
Did you say Melanie?
I did. Hi.
Okay, and they put New York up again. Those goofballs. I keep telling them Oregon.
That's Howard. It's all Howard's fault.
Is it Howard?
Yes.
Howard, knock it off.
Knock it off.
I'm happy to be from Oregon.
All right.
Okay, anyway, so I was thinking about, and I've talked to you a few times. This is my third time, and all of them have been around sexual harassment and stuff. And two comments I wanted to make. After listening to all this, my sister and I were watching you earlier, and for the first time in my life, my sister, I told her what happened to me literally in the Air Force. I told her exactly what my sergeant had said to me. Her mouth dropped, but this is my sister. I'd never shared that.
I know.
You know?
I know.
And
listen, I never shared my story either.
it's irritating. The other thing, it's because you're embarrassed, is what it is. It's embarrassing. The other thing is,
for me, it's just because I don't want the attention. Honestly, I really don't.
Right. Yeah, no. Well, it's uncomfortable attention. You know,
Right.
no one likes that.
Right. It's not earned attention.
And that's that's why I believe these women, because who in their right mind would come out and want to bring that on. But the other thing I was thinking of is I did some math with Roy Moore's wife.
Yeah.
And she's exactly my age. She's 56. But after they married 32 years, they were together for 33. That made her 23 years old.
That's how old they were.
And legal. She has a right to make that choice.
Right,
she's a legal adult.
Right.
But to me, it shows a complete pattern with this guy.
Of liking very young girls.
Young girls.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
No, I mean, listen, this is the thing, okay? First of all, I just need to tell you, we will be off next week from the 20th to the 24th. We're back on the 27th. So buy a stinking podcast. And if you have podcasts, this is a good time to listen to them and get caught up. But I have to tell you that there's always more than one. These men are serial offenders. Louis C.K., many women. Donald Trump, many women. Roy Moore, many women. I'm telling you, this is a tell. It's a tell. Women who don't know each other all having the same story is a tell. Our president is a disgusting human being. Happy Thanksgiving, though. Buy a stinking podcast. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.